Hello, ninth grade. It's Mr. Applequist. Today we are going to be working on a landscape, a mountain landscape. Um, we're going to be working on this partially because you need to understand the importance of layering and labeling your layers. So we have this heavily layered, overlapping mountain range. So it's going to make it difficult to select certain things unless we have it organized and layered. So in order to do that, we are going to start with the mountain in the back. But first, I'll show you how to set up this page. So what we do is we go to New Design. We are going to, we're actually going to use web/desktop. This is different from what we've been doing with the computer. I'm going to select web/desktop. And I want the one that's website large. 1440 by 900. That's a good size for a file, not too large, so it's annoying to store, but also plenty detail of pixels. So select large 1440 by 900 in the website. So now we're going to import our picture, which you've already downloaded from Google Classroom at the bottom of the assignment. Select that picture, which is, funnily enough, kind of what we're making. We are going to select Oliver Mitch. That's the name of our picture, Oliver Miche. Give it a second for it to load. And now we have our picture. Like I said, we're going to work with layers. So we want to start with the furthest layer in the back, I think. So we're going to start with the mountain, the furthest mountain. Obviously, there's a bunch of mountains. We're starting with the smallest mountain, the furthest away. So we're going to go to pen tool, or we can select P for the path. Select P on our keyboard for path tool. So I'm going to zoom in, Control plus, or you can go over here to the magnifying glass, but I'm just going to Control plus, Control plus, Control plus. I'm zooming in on this mountain right here. Not a very large mountain range, easy enough to start with. I could start here if I wanted to, but it's really small. I didn't even notice it when before I zoomed in. So I'm just going to start right here. So I will start somewhere that I don't even see the edge. So I'm going to go below this mountain range, which is ahead of it. I'm concentrating on this one in the back. And I'm just trying to follow the line from what I see, the edge of the mountain. There is room for you to be creative if you just want to follow. Not exactly. You want to change the landscape a little bit, that's fine. This is a guide. So use it as a guide. It is not the law of what you have to follow. But it helps to make, because it's from reality. You know it's something that was real. So I'm just making this large at the bottom so I don't lose it. So it's not this little sliver. I'm making it just this bottom piece. It's all going to get covered. So I just kind of made this block on the bottom. So we've got our path. I'm going to turn off the border. For some reason, it always starts with a border. So if you need to get rid of the border, you see this little hand that appears. Now it's an arrow. It's a hand when I go over this. I click somewhere on that bar that's not actually like a button. Right? So I'm not clicking the one. I'm not clicking the normal. I'm clicking some part of this gray area to drag it and put it in the trash can. See how it's going into the trash can. And now it's gone. So now we don't have our border anymore. If it's easier for you to see, you can keep the border. I don't like the border. It bothers me. Eventually, before you hand this in, you should get rid of the border because it's not a cartoon. Trying to make this somewhat realistic. So we're zooming out. And if I click somewhere else on the screen and hit V for my selection tool, now we can see what our mountain kind of looks like. I'm going to turn down the opacity on this as well. So I'm going to turn down the opacity on. Turn down the opacity on it. And then I'm going to make another mountain. So I'm going to make this next layer that is just above this layer right here. So first, I am going to decide where my next mountain should start. I think, well, actually, also, let's label this. Let's label this the farthest mountain or far mountain. Far mountain, because we want to keep our stuff organized. Okay, so now we know that is the farthest mountain, the faraway mountain. Now we're going to start with this mountain range. I can zoom in a little bit, Control plus, Control plus. And I want to start right about here. I could start here because it looks like this is actually the same continuation, but I'm not sure. I might not even include that in the end. This is what we see right here. So let's start with this part right here. So I'm going to select P for path, P on the keyboard. And I'm just following the edge of the mountain range. See, I could just go straight across because it's got snap turned on, but I want to make it look like there's a little dip. So I'm going to over-exaggerate that dip. That's what I was talking about. You don't have to follow everything exactly. This is a guide again. You can see our border forming again automatically. It sets it with the border, so we can turn that off afterwards. And I'm just following along the edge what I think it looks like. Kind of just going zigzagging around. I can zoom in if I want to get a little bit more accurate. And like I said, accurate doesn't have to be following it completely. You can make it look how you want. It just needs to have variation. It just shouldn't be a straight line across. It should be a crooked line. So like you see, I'm just making random points. Not random. I'm making points following the edge. Not stressing out too much if I go around something or miss some part. I can go back and hit undo if I want. Or I can just keep moving along because it's a mountain. It's asymmetrical. It is not a perfect shape. It's jagged. We're also zoomed in really close. So a lot of these, if we want to call them mistakes, won't be seen. The more you zoom out, the more obscured it becomes, the more fuzzy your mistakes are. So I'm just going along, kind of wondering when this mountain range is going to end, because I don't really know. I've zoomed in pretty far, so it could go on for a while. Yeah, we're about to come up on our mountain over here that we are about to block off. So this looks like it's behind it. I can decide to try and include it if I want to. It's up to me. I think I will include it. I like the way that it's going. It kind of gets lost over here. So I'm just going to follow this mountain range in the back. Pretend that it's part of the same continuous range. So I'm just following along what I see. What you see might be different because you are choosing the way that you follow the mountain edge differently from what I do. Just like our still lifes of the fruit bowls came out different, even though a lot of us were copying the same picture. Same goes for this. So now I'm going to this. I'm getting a little bit. I can still see the edge of it. If I wanted to, I could go back and turn off the opacity on this. I can see it well enough, I guess. I really just don't want to exit this tool because I just want to continue using this same tool, and I don't want to disrupt this path. So even now, I'm really just guessing where I see it at this point, actually, because I see a faint shape, and this looks like I'm following that edge. Just going around. Even if I'm not following the right edge, it won't really matter. It looks like a jagged shape. You see there, I missed actually a spot, but it doesn't matter. I can go back and fix it if I want, or I can just keep moving. The point is that your shape doesn't look like a perfectly rounded circle or a perfectly pointed arrow. It needs to look jagged and bumpy like a mountain range. And you can say that, oh, I can just draw a mountain range easily, kind of like people say that they can easily draw abstract art. But once you're actually trying to do it, it's harder than you think. So it looks like we're almost done with our mountain range. Just going along the edge. Some of you might start to get impatient at the end. If you get impatient, it starts to look sloppy, then you can go back and edit it still. It looks like there's a dip here. I'm not copying that for some reason. I'm the artist. I can do this. I can decide. See, look, it looks like it's kind of 2 layers right there. So I'm just deciding which layer I want to follow. Just going along the edge. This is the longest of the mountain ranges, so we're getting it out of the way. The other ones are shorter. Won't have to be zoomed in as much either. You can see I'm getting a little impatient, so I'm kind of just skipping along. But we're going to zoom out, and hopefully it won't be that obvious. If it looks too sloppy when we zoom out, then I can go back in and fix it. But at this point, I am just zooming through, clicking where I see these edges. Pretend like it's a Zen-like experience, like you are meditating, just clicking. Almost there, guys. And there, we made it to the edge. So we've got this other mountain that kind of just comes in front of us. So we will just, same as we did with the other one, I'm going to go downwards here. Let's zoom out. That is a long path. And now I want to connect it to this one over here. So I zoomed out, and I'm just going to, let's make it a little bit longer than the other one so it kind of stands out. Let's do it like that. Connect it to this one. And now we have a shape. So we want this one to be a little bit darker than the layer behind it. Normally, the way that light works in reality is that light comes forward, looks like it's closer to you, and dark recedes, looks like it's further away. With ours, it looks like actually it's the reverse. This dark area is the closest. This dark mountain is the closest. And I'm going to turn off this path just so you guys can see everything. This mountain in the back looks like it's the lightest actually, but it's the furthest away. So it's kind of contradictory. So what I want to do is let's label this long mountain range or long mountain. So we need to change the color of it. I just turned off the visibility on both of them so you could see them. This one we want to be a little bit darker. Let's bring down the opacity somewhat, just so we can see where it is. We're going to delete that border too. I don't need that. So click an empty area where it is border, right? Grab it when you got that little hand and put it in the trash. So we want the back layer is kind of like this really white, that the first mountain we made, the far mountain is kind of white. So we want this to be just like a very dim gray like that. And let's see this mountain, let's make it visible again. So let's bring up the opacity on the far mountain. So we actually want the far mountain behind long mountain. And now we have the illusion of space, kind of.